I've recorded every single Mythic Plus key that I've attempted in Season 3, and in this series I'm going to cover the highs and lows of each dungeon on my way to pugging to the 0.1% title. We're kicking off today's episode with a 25 Galakrons full. At the start here, the standard route is to stealth past the first couple of packs, and you can take the second pack into the boss, and that's exactly what we do here. Skipping over to the time waves because it's Tyrannical Week, we know how this is going to go. Both of my DPS teammates die here, all my friends are dead, but this actually allowed me to get some good practice in on this boss and actually get used to the boss. Dawn of the Infinite is a dungeon that I don't seem to run that often. I mean, mainly probably because I hate it, but yeah, I also got to practice running anti-clockwise here with the orbs. On our first pull of the Blight of Galakron, the healer just seemed to tick out to the corrosive orb here. So he fell over, which meant the rest of us just ticked out to the orb that then went onto us. We ran it back and the tank died in the first phase on this second pull. We did luckily have the combat res up though, and also it was literally as the boss phased. So we had that downtime to get him back up. Luckily, during this fight, I don't think we would have killed it if every single corrosion orb didn't go on me, because I was able to just feign death every single one, completely negate that mechanic, which I think carried us through this fight, honestly. And then skipping over to Iridikron, I had all my defensives up here. On the previous Stonecracker barrages, the healer just managed to out-heal all of the incoming damage. So for this one, I really was not prepared. I thought he was just going to do the same thing. I definitely should have pressed the defensive here. They got me back up though, and we killed Iridikron with just under 3 minutes left. And we got 4 score out of this one, taking us up to 3,335. Next, we jump into a 27 Darkheart Thicket. Any guesses as to how this goes? It is, of course, a deplete. I couldn't possibly time a high key like that, right? Did big damage on the first pull, pulled everything and lusted. Even though it's a Tyrannical Week, you still do this just to get the Bloodlust on cooldown. The Rogue died to the frontal on the first boss. It seems like some melee don't actually know that Grievous Leap is a frontal when he comes back to where the tank is. So he instantly died to that. We got the Rogue back up, carried on the fight. I was doing some big old damage in this fight, but unluckily, Seb and Rogue get a tick of Nightfall on them from the ad spawning on top of them here, straight into a Primal Rampage frontal. They both stand in it, instantly die to that. So that is the key dunzo. It was nice in this fight as well because the Druid was taking every single leap, so I don't even have to worry about that. Resto Druids in particular are very good at doing that. But GG's, we go next into a 26 Darkheart Thicket, because this was actually my key, I think, or it might have been Seb's, I'm not sure. On the first boss, me and Seb were swapping out for each of the Grievous Leaps. When I had all my defenses on cooldown, he took note and ran out to be the furthest away, and then vice versa, I would run out after he'd used his Scales and Renewing Blaze. On Oakheart, I'm still disengaging those Crushing Grips. You want to get away from the boss when you do this so that you actually have the time to disengage out because of the extra travel time. At this level, even on a Tyrannical Week, I can live the Shattered Earth AoE just about without a defensive. It is kind of sketch, but if I do eat it and then just exil up afterwards, then I should be good. Interesting route here. We did actually end up taking the second Blood Tainted Fury. Definitely not efficient percentage-wise, but this tank knew what he was doing. I do think he could have come up with a better route. You could take the Bloodseekers on top of the tunnel at the end to make up for this, but it's whatever. We were chilling on time here. I actually still got one shot on this last boss through my Fortitude of the Bear, so I ended up with around just under 1.2 mil HP, and because the boss had 10 stacks of the Apocalyptic debuff, he just one-shot me with Nightmare Bolt. It was close. It was just over 1.2 mil that he hit me for, but I thought that was pretty funny. There's literally no way that I live that. And then right at the end again, the boss still has 10 stacks of the debuff. My turtle is coming off of cooldown in 2 seconds, not even. So I press it, but the Nightmare Bolt already went off, so it did still kill me. My turtle was up when it actually killed me, but I think you have to press it before the ability leaves the boss. So that was a big sag. That was only a 1.1 mil, but yeah, we still got one shot by that one, unfortunately. But whatever, we still timed the key. We get 8 score out of that, so that's some nice score gains from that one up, taking us up to 3,343. Next up, we have a 25 Everblue. We didn't actually end up pulling the lashes onto Witherbark here. I think that's kind of trolling. They don't take long after the boss, but it's just much more efficient to take them onto the boss and just passively cleave them down. We've got a Paladin, he has Bubble and also Freedom to get rid of the debuff. But if he's not confident with it, then fair enough, and we play it safe. We skipped the pack just before the council boss with Mindsoothe. We all ran to the left of it. I told them that I could get the first kick on the heal on the Revitalize from the ranged mob, but that I could not get the second one because my kick doesn't come off cooldown in time. It still managed to go off, but luckily I was aware of this, so I instantly purged it. I think it does get a tick of 4% off before the purge actually goes through. I think it heals instantly, but I did my best. But other than that, this key felt really fast and really clean. We were on to the last boss with around 10 minutes left. I did end up playing my cooldowns badly on the last boss. I wasn't really saving my damage for the ads phase, which you definitely need to do in higher keys, but it did speed up the boss because it died quicker because all my damage was going into him. We did, however, miss 1%, so we went back for it. I think if you do miss percent at the end of Everbloom, it's better to just jump off the edge after you've killed the last boss, spawn at the start, and then go again. But we time it and we get 6 score out of that one, taking us up to 3,349. Not bad, eh? We're timing some keys, finally. I feel like I definitely improved at this point in the season. I also had some nicer or better pugs, so the keys were going a lot smoother. We were getting a lot more score here. That being said though, we move on to a 27 Murazon's Rise here. I am in no way, shape or form expecting to time this key. I just kind of sent it as a Hail Mary just to see if we could get lucky with it. Here I stood in the Orb of Contemplation like a bot. It happens to the best of us. Sometimes I just don't see it go out and then it's off my screen and it comes back in behind me, just complete jump scare and takes me out. So that's what happened here. Maybe I could have played more zoomed out here to avoid that death, but even then, sometimes the Orb of Contemplation literally travels across the room and you forget about it for 30 seconds and then it comes back and takes out your whole team like a bloody bowling ball. Moving on to Tia, I was terrified of this man in this level of key on a tyrannical week, and for good reason too. This boss does so much damage. I just could not live it as a hunter. It was insane. Even with an Org Evoker, I just was struggling so much. The Spark of Tears are going to do massive damage to you. You can obviously avoid the Infinite Annihilation, that's not a problem at all. But the Dividing Strike as well, that absolutely trucks. I guess this is the kind of key level where being a hunter really doesn't play into your favor, because this is where you need those shorter cooldown defensives to just mitigate the amount of outgoing damage with all of his different abilities. So I did end up getting the first 2 Spark of Tears, so I used Survival of the Fittest for the first one, Fortitude of the Bear for the second one. I was kind of scared and probably panicking at the same time as the Dividing Strike went out, so I ran in and turtled that one. Probably a little bit overkill, but I wasn't sure how hard that was going to hit because on the first one we had a Zephyr from the Org Evoker. So now at this point I've just got to pray for the rest of the fight because I don't have any defensives for like a minute here. Into the third phase then, I get another Spark of Tear. That almost one-shots me, so literally then I was just praying that it wasn't going to one-shot me. That's all I can do. Then the Dividing Strike goes out. I am topped for it. I've got 1.1 mil health, and this is what I mean by luckily I popped the defensive last time because this just one-shots me, hits me for over 1.2 mil, and all of us were stood in it as well, including the one with the Spark of the Tear on him. I do get CR'd by the Paladin. Now, I definitely could have waited I waited a little bit here, but I should have waited a little bit longer. I didn't realize that it was him that had the other Spark on him, so I rezzed into that. It did damage to me because I was inside his shield, and then it expired like 2 seconds later before I got topped up, so I just got taken out straight away again. That is on me. I should have waited and been more aware there and taken the res later, but also, just in general on this fight, hunters are struggling, man. It was my key, so I ended up running it back on the 26. Tia does take forever. I mean, to be honest, in that 27, it didn't actually seem that bad, but I guess the DPS was probably lower in this second comp. So he did take a while for sure. On Morchi, we did the strat with the CC, where you just constantly CC all of your clones. I'm still very new to this strat, but the problem is with this dungeon in particular is there's a lot of high key strats that you only see in the high key, so when you're doing those high keys, you're not doing them very regularly. So you're not going to be comfortable with these high key strats until you've done at least like probably 10 high key runs. And I'm just nowhere even near that. But I mean, it's only CCing at the end of the day. What I didn't realize here is you have to re-CC once she respawns them, or casts again, sorry. And then somehow during this fight, I did get meleeed, like it felt like across the map. I was pretty aware of where my clone was, and I kited around this sand puddle that I was going to take him through here, and he just melees me across it. Insane. I was so shocked that it killed me that I even had to click on the recaps, and yeah, he meleeed me for 618k. He's got them outlaw rogue arms, apparently. So we take the L on that one. The rest of Druid does get me up afterwards. It's not a big deal. Time Lost Battlefield is definitely sketchy on Tyrannical. Those ads are terrifying, specifically the Archer mobs. If they get their serrated axe throw off, I think it is, then that person's pretty much done. But as long as you can group them up nicely and AoE CC them, then you should be chilling. And then on to the last boss, High Tyrannical Key. It does so much damage during the infinite corruption phases. It's a joke. Never mind that though, even in the first phase I get taken out. I get Chronal Burn on me, which I am aware of, so I use a Fortitude of the Bear here to try and live it. But at the same time, one of the second Infinity Orb goes off, and then I take another tick of the debuff here. The Druid's Dispel was on cooldown because he literally just had it on himself. I was trying to spam my Exhilaration too, but obviously getting global locked is not the best. I still don't really know why Exhilaration is on the global cooldown. It's kind of a piss take, but yeah, anyway. I get back up and then it's just floor pov for me from there. In the last phase, the Infinite Corruption, I need a defensive for every single one to live through it. We kind of got trapped in this one as well by the sand, so I tried to disengage over. I still took a tick of it. I think everybody took a tick here, but being a squishy hunter, I did die. I even got my exil off and still fell over. Floor pov, hunter life, you know the score. It's unfortunate when you play a dungeon pretty cleanly and then the last boss takes you out, but I mean, that is just Murozond's Rise. Once you get past here, you're kind of smooth sailing until Dios on a Tyrannical week. It's a scary bloody boss. On to a Fortified week then. We have hit the reset. We're on a Fortified, Bursting and Storming week. We had lots of deaths on the start of this 26 BRH. People were just dying to Soul Blast and also the Soul Blades, the debuff that goes out. We managed to get through it though after around 8 deaths, which is not what you want at the start of Blackroot Cold, but thank God it's this dungeon because you can get away with a shit ton in this dungeon. We sent Lust on the mini boss upstairs. It just came off at the perfect time then. I did end up then dying to the Arrow Barrage. So there goes all my overall damage. I was most fuming about that. I didn't even really care that I died. I was just like, we've just sent Bloodlust. I didn't have my big cooldowns though, to be fair as well. But yeah, I should have just been more aware and ready to move away from the barrage. Sometimes it is hard to miss the first tick of the barrage though if they leap awkwardly. Even further upstairs in the corridor with the big pool, my pet actually ended up dying here. Haven't had a pet die in a while, but that is exactly what happens here. I didn't notice as well, so I definitely need to get a weak aura that just spams across my screen that my pets are dead. I thought my pets were just like glitched around the wall and like had some no path available. The last thing I was thinking about is that my pets were maybe dead, but yeah, there we go. So lost a load of damage on this pool as well. Sometimes being a pet class can definitely suck. Up the top here where the Lancers and Swordsmen are, there's a little ledge here where you can jump up on and then they won't be able to Ravens dive to your location. I messed it up here and got the Warlock killed, I'm pretty sure. But if you guys don't already know, I do upload some little Mythic Plus tips and tech for you guys on my YouTube shorts. A lot of you probably don't know that because it comes up on like a different YouTube subscriber feed. So if you go check out my shorts, there's lots of tips and tricks for you guys to learn from there. For some reason, even from the start of the key, the Mistweaver was terrified of the last boss and his first Shadow Bolt volley. Even on a Fortified week, I get it, it's still scary because our health doesn't scale at that point. So he wanted me to turtle. I unfortunately couldn't turtle because I used it on the previous trash, but I just used a defensive instead anyway. I don't know why it had to be turtle. I could just use a survival of the fittest or something like that. So we easily live through it. At the end, the Stinging Storm does go out. We just choose to ignore it. The monk almost does die to it, but it doesn't matter because we get the boss down. Not my best key personally, and also not the best key from us as a group overall. There was like, what, 14 deaths by the end of that one? But Blackroot Cold is a free timer, so as long as you don't wipe consistently, then you should time it. Obviously in a higher key, you're probably not going to get away with 14 deaths, but I also wouldn't expect to have 14 deaths in here. This dungeon is not that hard. This tips us over 3,350 to 3,353. We get 4 score out of this one. We did get gapped by the Demonology Warlock as well. If I lived on that last pool and if I didn't have deaths over the course of the key, if my pets didn't die in that corridor, I would have been way above the rest here. But we were all kind of pumping in this dungeon, to be fair. Now we jump into a 26 Galakrons full. Fortified week, so the Manifested Time Waste trash is very, very scary. And you'll see that just here. I get Chrono Burst on me at the same time as the Tainted Sands debuff. I put my Fortitude of the Bear into Exil, and then I'm still low, so I have to use a Survival of the Fittest here. That is 3 defensives used up for this combo, and I still die to it. Insane. I guess the Healer's Dispel was probably on cooldown. I hope it was anyway, because otherwise they could have dispelled the Tainted Sands off of me, and I'd probably live, because that debuff trucks, but at the same time as a Chrono Burst explosion, yeah, I'm just toast. It's lights out for Vesp. We had lots of random deaths during the Time Ways area, shock horror, like it's just a scary, scary zone. I did end up ninja pulling the Time Stream Anomaly here, that is my bad, but the thing is the tank later blames the key on this. He pings the mob as I pull it. Obviously, I should have been aware myself that this mob was patrolling round. To be fair, I think I thought we already killed it. We just killed an anomaly, so maybe I got confused by that. But yeah, it gets pulled in as the rest of the other pack is already dead. The bloom goes out. I think the DK used anti-magic shell for it, so he doesn't even get the dot applied to him. And then he gets one shot by the frontal. Now, obviously, it looks like that frontal hits very hard. And obviously, the Blood Death Knight blames this completely on me. We're not going to stand around doing nothing, just waiting for the DK's cooldowns to come back. So we're going to be active. We're probably going to pull the anomaly next because he was patrolling into us. And then the same thing would have happened anyway. But obviously, I'm an easy scapegoat there. I ninja pulled, Hunter life, you know the drill. And actually, I don't even think the DK blamed me until he then died to this next trash pack because he turned his back on all the mobs as he went to grab a leech. So again, I'm the scapegoat here. I messed up by ninja pulling the anomaly, but then he messes up by dying to 2 leeches and 3 other mobs that are pretty much dead. So of course, just blame Vesp, that's easy. Unfortunate thing is as well as this key is still so timeable. Like we pretty much cleared all of the time waste trash. We need to kill 3 bosses on a fortified week and we still have 23 minutes left. Like, yeah, just the ego on some players actually baffles my brain. Like these players are never going to get high Ryo score because they just leave so many keys that are timeable because their ego can't handle the fact that they died once over the course of 1 key. Insane. And I'm not tilted by it at all. We run back another 26 Galakrons full. I don't need that DK. I can time it without him. I did end up dying on the first pull to bursting. I didn't want to commit a defensive here. Thinking back, I probably should have committed a defensive because I don't need to use them at any point in the near future because it's going to be Chronicar soon. But I think dependent on the scenario, if you know that you're going to need your defensives later, sometimes it's better just to die to bursting. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like sometimes it'd be better to die to bursting and then have a defensive for later in the pool, like on a scarier pool or whatever. So yeah, I just kind of let myself tick out to this. I knew that I was going to die to it. Another thing that I definitely should have done here is be stood in melee. I don't think my brain clocked on that this was a full melee comp, so the mass dispel was going to be in melee. But yeah, I missed the mass dispel here as well. So that was another way that I could have lived here and not used up my defensives. We then staggered the second pull into the boss. The Demon Hunter actually ends up dying here. I think he got unlucky with a time rip. He was already low when it was going off, and then yeah, he just ticked out to that. No biggie, we ended up getting him up. Just before the time waves when we were clearing the trash around that area, I think it was literally the last pack just before time waves, the healer called for mana and somehow the Demon Hunter's tier set ricocheted off of these 2 leeches into the boss, literally across the map, and pulled the manifested time waves. As you can see, the healer is on 10% mana here, so God knows how we survived this. I think the healer was a beast and also we just played quite well as a team. But yeah, hats off to the priest here for healing us through this 26 manifested time waves with we're starting the fight with 10% mana. That's a W. I love being the lust in my groups because that means I lose a defensive and that is why I die here. If I had my Fortitude of the Bear Pet out, then I would have definitely lived here with ease, by the way. We did a double dragon pull, so that is scary. But yeah, I just needed 1 defensive to live this last tick from the dragon that took me out. The rest of the group survived here. We did end up wiping to the Blight of Galakron. The DH died quite early on in the fight, and then the Rogue got one shot pretty much by the Corrosive Orb. At this point, we just wipe it and go again. We start the boss with 15 minutes left, so if you compare that to the last key, we had 22 minutes left with a time waste to do and 3 or 4 dragons to do in 7 minutes before we would be on the same timer here. So that just proves how much of an idiot that Blood DK was in the last run. But we kill it second time with ease. In this group, we've got quite a lot of stops for the Corrosive Orb. The Rogue can vanish, and also I believe he was Night Elf, so he can Shadow Meld. The Demon Hunter can Shadow Meld, I can Feign Death, so plenty of ways out here. Even the Priest might have been Night Elf too. We shrouded to the end after the Blight of Galakron. I asked when we should Bloodlust here. I was thinking maybe second shield because people are going to have their cooldowns up for the first shield. But the group was pretty confident and they just said no, send it after the first shield to get some boss damage going. Just my luck. During the first Earth Surge shield, all of my USB devices on my PC froze and like rebooted. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I've got a semi-new PC. It's like a few months old. So it's done it a few times. I'm really not sure what the root problem of that is. But somehow the stars aligned. The Earth Surge stopped just before me. Like I literally can't move at this point. My keyboard's not working. My mouse isn't working. And the Earth Surge spike stopped just in front of me so that I did not die to it. I'll let the clip quickly run so you guys can hear the panic in my voice. I think it resorted to my webcam microphone. What's going on? What the fuck? I don't think you guys can hear me, can you? But yeah, that was so lucky. I don't know what I did right in my past life to get that fortunate right there. But yeah, that was a W. But yeah, we got back into the fight, sent the bloodlust where we were supposed to. We did almost 2 chests this 26. We had 6 minutes left on the timer as we killed Iridicron. And that's with 14 deaths as well. So the moral of the story, guys, is never give up on your key. And also have faith when all of your USB devices just stop themselves for no reason. Big overall there though, we kind of gapped the Rogue and the DH just over 300k. And we got a big 13 score out of this, taking us up to 3,366. The last key for this episode then is in the same stream. We had a 26 Dark Heart Thicket. Again, I am the lust in this key, so on this first pull, I'm going to have to lust. I'm going to be lacking 1 defensive. One thing I hate in this first pull is how long it seems to take for tanks to actually get the Grizzly inside the pack, because I want to be focusing all of my prio DPS into the Grizzly, so I kind of have to wait for him to come in. But at the very start, I get leapt on. I instantly use my Exil to help out the healer get me above 90% health to remove the bleed. I health pot at the same time, and I still end up just ticking out here. Definitely could have used a survival of the fittest, but I mean, with a debuff that is already applied to me, I use 2 massive heals to try and help out the healer. It just doesn't seem like I get healed here, in all honesty. Or healed enough, I should say. He definitely does heal me, but it's just not enough. It doesn't get me above that threshold that I need for the bleed removal, but it does end up taking me out. Honestly, part of me kind of likes dying after bloodlusting a pool because it means that I don't have to dismiss and resummon my tank pet, and instead I can just summon my normal pet. After this big pull at the start, the tank played these 2 ruiners by themselves for quite a while. I'm not really sure what we were trying to do here. Maybe he was trying to pull through the wall, but I don't know. It just seemed like he was very slow on the chaining into the razor beaks. Definitely not efficient there. Again, weird behavior from the tank here. We have 2 Nightclaws active. We've got them all down to around 50% health. And then he just randomly chains into this other Nightclaw pack. This is not what you want to do on Fortified. During this key as well, I was trying to figure out, Freezing Trap and Binding Shot seem so inconsistent with these Tigers leaping. Like sometimes it seems to stun them before they actually apply the bleed, and sometimes it seems to trap them as well before they get to you if you place the trap just in front of you. But then other times they just apply the bleed anyway and then you toast. So yeah, I was trying to figure out what the strat was here. I was trying to place the Freezing Trap quite far in front of me so that they were nowhere even near me before they could apply the bleed. But even that didn't seem to be working. After killing the Dryads in this plant area, the common strat is to just keep chaining. You want to kill the Dryads as a prio as well as the Keepers, and then you can just passively cleave on the Blossoms afterwards. Here I asked if he wanted me to Bloodlust Oakheart or the Horrors. And at first he said Oakheart, but then quickly changed his mind once somehow we ninja pulled and also chained into the Horrors. So I had to dismiss and then resummon my Bloodlust pet mid-pull while all the CC needs to be done. Just was not ideal at all for me. I'm also losing so much DPS because of that. I don't actually know what the mechanic is here. It seems like we ninja pulled one of the Horrors, or the Dwellers, sorry, I keep calling them Horrors. And then the rest of them just kind of walk over, so I don't know if they are actually all grouped together, and if you pull one of them, they all come in. I don't actually know how that works here. We managed to live the pull though, somehow, some way. I'm not really sure how we managed to pull off the CC chains required there. But we did have lust, so I guess that made it a lot easier. And then on to Oakheart. The tank dies to Crushing Grip, and that is the key over GG. I mean, we weren't even close to timing this key anyway. We've got 18 deaths overall. This was super scuffed, and we've got 11 minutes left, and Oakheart's not even dead. So yeah, not even close on the timer. So thank you, tank, for dying. But that is it for this episode. If you guys are enjoying this series, then please feel free to drop a like down below and subscribe to your boy. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.